Ladies and gentlemen, filmmakers and moviegoers. I don't know what I'm doing. Filmmakers and moviegoers alike. Welcome to Critically Casual. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And just like loud music. It's like, yeah, we're hype. No. Hi, Dev. How are you today? This is Critically Casual, and you're Dev.
I'm all right.
Sweet.
I'm what?
And you're Dev. I'm Steven, and you're all right. That's good to hear.
I'm all right. I mean, I'm not in the best shape right now, but it is what it is.
We're all.
We'll see.
Dev's dying, and it might be Schrodinger's virus. We don't know.
Dude, that's the worst part about this day and age, man. It seriously is Schrodinger's virus. I haven't heard someone call it that, but that is what it is, isn't it? Also, I got a new cut. This is the first podcast I've been on since it, and it's the best cut I've gotten in a while, man. Like, I could still do stuff with it. Like, I could style it forward if I wanted to, like, up,
It's
I
still
could do it straight
malleable, yeah.
back, and then, to the side. But, in the side, the back, and the sides. Also, my friend, because he's the one who cut it, he handled this spot right here pretty well. I know it's shorter than, the rest of the front of my hair. But that's because this spot right here goes in, like, 6 different directions, and doesn't follow the rest. So I'm fine with it being cut like that. No one's ever really done that. I'm like, you know what, that's not bad, because I usually style it this way anyways, so.
Nice.
When it's longer, so.
Like, I prefer my hair longer only because, like, I have this weird cowlick on the back of my head here where my hair splits into 4 different directions. So if I try to, like, style my hair when it's short, it's just like, all right, this part's down and this part's down and now boing! And I have alfalfa. Like, no matter which way I brush my hair. So I'll have to sit there with, like, hair gel on and I'll be like, all right, this way a little bit, this way a little bit, this way a little bit, this way a little bit. All right, are we all flat? Cool.
See, I don't gotta deal with that. I've gotta deal with the Superman droop, though.
I would rather have the Superman droop. I mean, well, actually,
It's styling sometimes, but it's sometimes really annoying.
yeah, like there's times now when I actually find myself putting in like hair clips because I'll be really freaking annoyed with like the couple of hairs in my face, so I could see that being annoying every once in a while. But
Yeah.
enough with the hair talk. I think nice casual conversation. We gotta start talking about movies because this be our movie podcast, and this week I
Yeah.
called it blew up.
Dude, that is a good way to put it, because that's how I feel about this franchise.
it just blew up. It just
Oh, man. I hadn't seen last night until now. And I hadn't seen Age of Extinction since it came out. Man. Like, just as a general comment for both of these films, how did the CGI get worse since 2008, 2007?
There were definite moments when I was like, ooh, look at that awful city. What is that fake tree? Why are you a fake human?
Why are the Autobots so out of place suddenly? They looked like they belonged in the world in the last ones.
Are you even sitting in that chair?
And even the props look bad. There's a scene with Bumblebee on a table getting a repair real quick. And, like, they have a fake Bumblebee head there. But because it's real, it took me immediately out of the scene. I'm like, that is a prop Bumblebee. You didn't even try, because it looks plastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a plastic Bumblebee head. I'm like, did you try to make it look like Bumblebee? Like, I know I get you using a plastic Bumblebee head for the prop. That makes sense. But wouldn't you, like, do some digital effects on it to make it look like Bumblebee?
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay.
Right. So we know what
Bold choice. Let's see how it works out, Cotton.
I was about to say, now we know what some of Dev's talking points will be for these movies. But yeah.
Oh, without a doubt. I have a lot of talking points, especially for the second movie. I'm glad it's I'm glad it's a later movie and the spoil movie, because there's a lot to. That one has more to unpack than the first one.
See, I would almost disagree because just looking at my notes.
I guess from a casual perspective, it's got more.
Yeah,
From a critical perspective, I will say Age of Extinction probably has more.
Yeah, just looking at my notes, Age of Extinction is 2.5 pages, and The Last Night is a little over half a page.
I've got more notes on Last Night just strictly from the casual perspective, I guess. Because, man.
Hi, LaBelle. Sup, nerd.
Hello. Sup.
You're here just in time for us to start talking about Transformers Age of Extinction.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to talk about before we get into this first movie?
No.
No.
Let's just jump into it.
Okay.
And I can sum it up. I don't know. Are you using the thing or should I explain the thing? Talked about earlier.
Oh,
Today.
I'm probably not going to use it, honestly.
Okay. I'm gonna explain it then. So there's a scene in this movie without spoiling that Stanley Tucci is inside a car, and it's driving on a bridge, and it's an Autobot, of course, right? So he's in the Autobot and it's driving, and it goes down to a pan shot of his hand on the MacGuffin of the movie, and then it cuts to him, and it is a cropped in, wrong lighting. Wrong everything. It like as soon as I saw it, especially now that we've been doing this podcast for 2 years.
2 years working on this is like our third year that we're in the middle of. 2+ we're working on our third.
I saw it. I'm like, how did I miss this on my first watch in theaters? That looks so bad. It is a cropped in Stanley Tucci that looks like he was probably standing because of his posturing. And it doesn't work.
Yeah, they probably that was probably an added in shot that they needed to do later on. So they picked somebody else's hand, and then they just took a thing of him standing up and put it in the seat.
But was that less expensive and a better choice than just going like, "Hey, Stanley, can we just drive over to you real quick and get a photo of like a quick shot of you in a car in a suit?"
I think it's a little more difficult than that, Dev.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yes, I know what you mean. But people do this kind of stuff all the time. Like, don't get me wrong. Usually, when it happens, it's just as awful. But it's the technique that people do a lot. They'll put like hand substitutes, and then they'll take frames.
Well, okay, I'm fine with that.
But it's just that they didn't mix him in properly. They didn't fix his lighting. They didn't like.
Well, even his like size compared to the seat behind him was wrong. Like. I like, because you see him in a car earlier, and you know him compared to a car seat, like in a passenger seat, and I'm like, that just doesn't look right in every way. His size is wrong, his lighting is wrong, his just demeanor is wrong for the situation. Like, it's entirely cut from a different point.
You probably honestly could look through the rest of the movie and find other close-ups of him and be like, "Oh, this is where they took it from," and put it there. But,
probably that really cut that framing, put it there, so we wouldn't catch it. But I wouldn't put him past them not cutting it because this movie is bad. It was. Man, this was worse than I remember. I thought I liked this one more than Revenge of the Fallen.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Like, this one is a little bit weird for me because there are moments that I really enjoy and there are moments that I definitely don't like. Like, for instance, at the last movie, number 3, whatever the name of it's called that I'm forgetting at the moment.
Dark of the Moon.
Yes.
Not Dark Side.
Yeah. That's why I block it out because it's such a dumb title. But in that movie, towards the end of the movie, they did this thing where they kind of cut away from the Transformers action and stuck mostly to the human action. And that's essentially what they did with this entire movie, where most of the actions, most of the drama, most of everything was pretty much all humans, because this was a complete shift of storytelling compared to the other movies. Like, the first 3 movies were, we have to find this thing so we could do this and then stop this. This movie is, we need to survive. And that's basically it.
To a point, and then it becomes, we need to find the thing and protect the thing. Like,
but that's not until later on, and then
no,
it becomes a little bit more of a normal Transformers movie. And that's actually, I was disappointed by that. Like, I was kind of digging the change in how they filmed this. And, like, I liked the mood difference for a little while because this was, like I said, it's a completely different movie from the first 3 movies. Like, it's still Transformers. It's still the same Autobots and Decepticons. But,
well, not the same Autobots, but...
Yeah, you get the point. But,
not going into too many spoilers.
Yeah, but then you get a completely different mindset where, like, the main character and his reactions to what's going on are completely different. It's not a romance thing which I'm very thankful for. But then there's also random. This also leads into certain things like this movie really had me examine just how useless Megatron is, and like he's not a villain ultimately after the second movie. But there's that,
which is really disappointing because he one in the first three Hugo Weaving's great, and then in this one and the next one they got the original voice actor of Megatron to come back to play Megatron. Mm-hmm. Do something with him, or technically Galvatron. Sorry, in this one, which we'll get into more during spoilers in the next one.
I was about to say, yeah, spoilers is
while that's pointless in the end. That's what he's called in this movie, Galvatron, which is a reference to the Transformers the movie back in the 80s. I think it's 88, if I remember correctly.
I just remember
86.
it from like the 2000s cartoon, because I remember Megatron turning into Galvatron later on. I also remember Energon being something that they attached to their arms so they could transform, but that's a different cartoon.
It's just... There's a lot of lore to Transformers that just gets lost in these. Like, the fact that, again, this is when it becomes this, I think, is when it becomes the problem of rewriting your history again.
I would disagree. I think the next one is definitely...
Oh, it's far worse in the next one. But I think this one starts it being worse because if you know anything, the Dinobots are in this. Mm-hmm. It's in the fucking poster next to us.
Yeah. But at the same time, the Dinobots aren't important to the story.
No, but they're important in a sense because there's something about, the mass extinction of dinosaurs and stuff like that and how Transformers were involved. And it's, again, for me, it goes, and the fact that Optimus narrates this makes me think that from a standpoint as the viewer, at least for me, triggers that he knows this information. Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem I have with just the Optimus narration. Like, don't get me wrong, the beginning of this movie and the beginning of the next movie didn't have the opening Optimus narration, which I was 100% for. I was like, thank God, we don't need narration. We don't need Optimus.
I am Optimus Prime.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up last week when you're like, but that's what they always do with Transformers. And I was like, just because they've always used a bad storytelling device doesn't mean they should still use a bad storytelling device.
Narration isn't a bad storytelling device. It can set up a world. Hey, you want to know one of the best narrations ever put into film? It's from one of your favorite movies. Mm-hmm. Lord of the Rings, the first one. Mm-hmm. With Cate Blanchett explaining the history of Middle Earth, and we get that awesome, one of the best openers to a movie with the Sauron versus the King and Elrond all there. We would not remember that scene as fondly if we didn't have Cate Blanchett's narration to it. Mm-hmm. Which apparently it was supposed to be Ian McKellen originally, but they also had other people record it, including like Bilbo and Frodo mm-hmm. and everyone. But they were like, wow, Cate Blanchett just fucking killed it because she's Cate Blanchett, so let's go with that. But I don't know, man. Like, I'm fine with the narration if it's a character of the franchise that is important or going to be important. Mm-hmm. So Optimus, obviously, if anyone was to narrate Transformers, it would be Optimus, mm-hmm. in my opinion, because he's when you think of Transformers in any adaptation, his is the voice you think of because it's the most consistent thing in all of Transformers. In any medium it's in, the voice of Optimus is what you think when you think Transformers. So I'm cool with the narration. It also is a double-edged sword when you have things like the extinction event of the dinosaurs. So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the history thing as well. I both see your point and don't see your point, because in this movie as well, at the same time, I know Optimus narrates that this thing happened, but I didn't see it as them completely changing the lore of the world, which they did technically, but at the same time, I feel like the worst ones that have done this so far was movie 2 and movie 5.
Yes.
1, 3, and 4, which I know the ones which you're like, man, these are always really bad at changing time. But 1, 3, and 4, I don't see, especially 3 and 4, I don't really have a problem with how they've, retcons their timeline.
See, my problem with it is because, again, established stuff. Because this is a sequel, so it has previously established canon that even if you judge this movie on its own, as its own film, you still do have to think about it within the bigger picture too, because it's supposed to be at least a narrative connected through these films. At least that's what you do when you're doing a franchise. You usually want to weave a narrated like theme or something through them, and not just have random garbage the entire time. For most franchises, this is not one of them.
Yeah, there's no theme in this one.
No,
but...
unfortunately, and I feel like that's one of the things that lacks greatly. But the other problem it has too is that, in my opinion, with the establishment in the first movie being like, well, this is our first time coming to Earth, and it gets worse as in 5, but in this one, that's like the fact that it's like Optimus knew about it. At least that's how it's presented to you. That's my problem with it, because it's just like, well, again, and the fact that this it's discovered in this movie that it happened when that probably should have been discovered so much longer ago with what it is with that metal and stuff. I'm like, there's absolutely zero way no one found this the last how many years?
Like,
what the fuck?
Like, once again, I both agree and disagree with you, because I could see it being like, in Transformers history, this event that we see happen to the dinosaurs happens, but it happened to worlds all over the place. They could have not known it was Earth. They could have known that this was part of their history. And then they're like, oh, we did it on Earth too. Good to know.
Fair, but my thing is, he does say, we did it to Earth, and this and that. And again, with this scene, it breaks even more when we get to the next movie. I think that's one of the things that hangs up for me now, is now that I've seen the next movie, this scene breaks more of this universe because of the sequel to it.
See, I would say no. I would say this movie doesn't break the universe. The 5th movie breaks the universe, and
That's
because
fair.
of the 5th movie,
Because of
sucks.
yes, that's fair. No, that's fair.
I was about to say, you're putting the blame on the wrong place here, I feel.
Well, I'm putting blame on this movie because it allowed for a sequel. We
Might as well put
could have
blame-
ended it.
You should have just been like, oh, Transformers 1. That's it, we're done.
But it had promise is the problem. Because, like, dude, in my head, I have mapped out how we could have made this entire franchise so much better. But it's not reality, unfortunately. And my opinion on how to fix these movies doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. If I did that as like a video thing from time to time, maybe I'd do it. But like, fixing the Transformers franchise is not my job.
Nope.
I'm gonna critique it though, because I really like the Transformers. Like the fact that one of my issues with this is that we get a new breed of Transformers, is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing they stop doing during the climax of the film.
You're not wrong. That, like, a lot of this movie, especially this movie, is setup and then disappointment. Because they have this really cool premise, and then they throw it away. So, like, this movie specifically talks about elements and metals and fun stuff. And I could imagine it being so much cooler because they had this great idea. But as the way my stepmother put it when I talked to her about it is, Michael Bay is good at making forests, but terrible at making trees. He can make a good overarching story, but once we get down to the nitty-gritty bits, the things that are important, it falls apart.
He makes a cool concept for a story.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, there's such cool outlines. Like, if this was the pitch idea, I think it's a good idea. But the way it's executed, it's just so bad.
Even like, I mentioned this because there's one scene in particular. Well, technically two. There's a moment about I'll say about an hour and 15 minutes into this movie, which this movie is 2.5 hours without credits, by the way.
2:45.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly. Let me pull it up. Oh yeah, it's 2:45. It came out on June 27th, 2014, with a budget of stupid proportions at $210 million. Made U.S. opening $100 million. U.S. gross was $245 million and $1.1 billion worldwide. Let me double check. Was that more than 3? You can go over what you're gonna do. I'm just gonna look. I'm gonna find this real quick. There it is.
I'll be honest, I kind of forgot where I was going.
You were going over. I think we were doing. We were talking about plots. There was a moment,
Oh, yes.
an
Okay,
hour
thank you.
and something in.
Where one of the fight scenes is between two humans, and it is a very jumpy, poorly cut together mash of swing, cut, swing, hit, cut, swing, reflect, like it's just this really bad, choppily cut fight scene between two human beings. But then you get towards the last like half hour of the movie, when you get towards like the major final ensemble fight scenes, and you get these really cool shots of long takes between transformers and people and like bullets flying and all that stuff. Like he does really good when it comes to like the all-out war scenes, but then every other part of this film is kind of just mediocre at times. And one of the
Kind
things
of giving it more than I would give it.
like, and there are times definitely in this movie that where the saturation bugged me. Like Michael Bay in the Transformers films has been really well known for upping the colors, where it's always really green or really blue or really yellow
Or really orange.
Yeah.
Orange is his favorite.
So, and that happens a lot, especially there. Like there are moments when it's like the what's her name? Oh crap! Let me have to pull up her.
The daughter?
Yes.
Tessa Yeager, played by Nicole Peltez, which, by the way, this is dubbed the Markie Mark duology, by the way, because Mark Wahlberg's in it. And he's the consistent character through these two.
Yep.
There is...
Thanks for cutting off the host here, Dev.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Nope,
with
I'm
her
done.
scene.
Go ahead. You were
her
saying
scene.
about Marky Mark?
Well, I was saying he's the only character that carries over through the two films.
Well, kind of. You can hear her voice in the next film. Plus, we have all the Transformers who carried over to the next film as well.
Not counting that, I'm saying human characters.
But with her character, there are moments where like she's staring longfully in the distance as cop cars are coming after them, and it's like, wow, look at how American, I guess, is a good way to put it, because they'll have like those American flags in the backgrounds, and they'll have the blonde hair with the blue eyes and the super saturated colors and the high definition, so you could see all the pores on her face, and it's like, okay.
Which also, weird choice about the relationship thingy.
Yeah, like I liked that this movie, like the main character didn't have a romance arc in it.
No, yeah.
But at
I'm
the
fine
same,
with that.
Yeah, but at the same time, they replaced it with a different romance arc, which I thought was kind of pointless, especially because one of the characters, aka the boyfriend, Shane, don't like him. His character's really pointless in this movie. Like,
He does nothing, and 2, look, okay, red flags. If the guy has a state law laminated in his wallet as to why it's legal to date his 17-year-old daughter.
yeah, that's fucked.
That was, like, I remember it, but I didn't remember how bad it actually was. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Jesus.
He's like, yeah,
Christ.
we had a relationship
fuck?
when I was a junior in high school. That was 3 years ago, but we're protected by the law.
It's the Romeo and... Which, by the way, I don't remember... I don't think that was an Irish accent, was it?
I don't know, but apparently he's Lucky Charms.
Because, like, man, when I first heard him, I thought it was Australian. But, like, an Americanized Australian, if that makes sense. Because he's been living in America for a while, obviously. So your accent blends a little bit. And maybe it was an Americanized Irish. I could be just completely wrong entirely. But it sure as shit, to my dumbass brain, didn't sound like anyone I've ever met or ever heard speaking with an Irish accent.
I agree with you. And even sometimes later on in the film, like, where does the accent go? Like, there are moments when it's there, and there are moments when it's not. And there are other things, too, that catch my attention. Like, though this isn't important to the movie, this quote caught my attention because this happens really early on in the movie where it's a news article saying that people are pissed off because 1,300 people have died, and that was 5 years ago. And I was like, so this is out of movie conversation time. Could you imagine a world today where only 1,300 people died and there'd be outrage?
No.
Right? Especially now that we're hitting 100,000. Okay, back to the movie. But,
Yeah, no. And the thing about that, too, is, like, I hate that the consistent thing throughout this franchise is, well, the Autobots, maybe they're bad. It's a consistent thing that happens in each of these fucking movies. It's like, why the fuck Ethan Hunt? Maybe he betrayed us. No, you dummy. He didn't betray you. He's just trying to save the fucking world. The Autobots are just trying to protect us. I don't get it. I don't get how consistently that it's the main issue for the Autobots to deal with. Is that humans like, well, what if the Autobots are bad?
what if they're here because the Autobots are here?
What if we killed them? Which, by the way, Optimus partway through the movie says, we don't kill humans. After having more than likely
Killed at least 3 or 4. At minimum.
At minimum. Blew up a couple cars. Blew up a couple people. From what it looked like. We don't kill humans. But I'm going to kill whoever did this.
Yeah, right?
Like, and I get his anger in that situation because I was pissed off at what he was pissed off at, because the reason being is it upsets me. All right, for reasons that I'll get into during the end spoiler talk. But it's just, it hurt me. It hurt me.
By the way, I love, since we're around this part in the movie, this reminds me of a moment where, like, one of the motifs in this film, like, for about the first 30 minutes of this film, the complication is the fact that Optimus is hurt.
Yeah.
But then about an hour in, that's not a problem anymore. It doesn't even matter, and the fix was instantaneous. Yep. And same thing happens with a bunch of other stuff, too, in this movie, where it's like, well, what about this happens? And they flip a switch, and the fix is instantaneous. And it just constantly happens in this movie, specifically. And that being said, too, there's a lot of, like, bad guys in this movie. But as I said, Megatron, Galvatron in this instance, kind of pointless. Our other bad guy, I think, was Longshot, or whatever his name is. Lockdown, my apologies.
Lockdown.
He was probably the worst bad guy in this movie. But even then, we deal with him like the movies do. And then we have, I think our last guy was, yet again, another American secret government organization. So this is the fourth one now that decided that, hey, we're going to work with the Transformers, but not be shut down. It's the fourth one.
Work with the Transformers to hunt Transformers.
Yeah.
Because Lockdown's a Transformer. But he's not one of the Autobots or Decepticons, so it doesn't count, right?
Yeah, because they say in this movie, they mention how it's like, humans will handle the problems themselves. And then Lockdown shows up. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So there's that.
Kelsey Grammer is one of them. Kelsey Grammer and Titus Welver are the two, like, main people from those. Which, man, my boy Beast.
But yeah, then my last final question is, like, I guess not question, but then our last final bad guy is the human bad guys, which I think switches because at one point it's a secret organization, but then one point it's just the government in general, and I don't know, like there's a lot of conflict in this movie, and then it's just brushed over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
That's what this movie does the most, is
Yeah.
just brush over stuff
And
and
it
get
ha-
to the next thing.
yeah, and it happens continuously over and over and over again. Like even the setup in the very beginning, it sets up that Transformers have been here a lot longer than we think they've been here. Like a lot longer.
Which we've already thought, like, wow, they were here for a lot longer than we thought.
Yeah. But even that, like that whole intro part, and then the subsequential like human intro part that happens, with the scientist lady, like all of that was freaking
Scientist
pointless.
lady?
Yeah.
Oh, the archaeologist.
Yes. Who is a professor? I'm just kidding. That was the next
Something
movie.
along those lines, yeah.
But
Darcy. Yeah, played by Sophie Miles. Which, by the way, I gotta say this about this movie. No one, other than Mark Wahlberg, is memorable.
I
Other than maybe Stanley Tucci, but even then, it's arguable.
yeah, like that's probably why Mark Wahlberg was the only one in the fifth movie.
Probably.
But then
And the only reason why he's memorable is because he's Mark Wahlberg and is just like dialed to like 11. Especially during the beer scene. Oh, I'm sorry. With his fucking did you get alien spaceship insurance? No. Oh, this your car?
yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is this scene? Why is this happening? What the fuck is the point of this scene?
But it felt appropriate because in a time of mass destruction in the city, that one guy was like, "You're gonna insure and cover my car." So
You better have insurance.
yeah, so it felt appropriate. Like, what? Like it's really sad to think that a movie made in 2014 is really appropriate for modern times.
Yeah.
But then yeah, then conflicts happen. Conflicts are resolved. And then the end of the movie happens, and all of this time, it's just a bunch of violence, which some of it is good, some of it's bad. Usually, when it's like like a larger scene, which is weird. Like if it's an ensemble scene, it looks pretty darn good. But if it's an individual fight between two people, it doesn't look very good, which is kind of weird.
And, well, the other thing I got to give him credit for is in this one, I will say this: the Autobots' designs are better because they stick out in a group full of metal fighters. You have Drift, the blue guy. You have Hound, the big
Green
like
guy.
dark green. You have Bumblebee, obviously yellow, which I wish they would have stuck with the fucking classic look that he had going throughout the beginning of this movie. It's better than the other Camaro. It just was, and I hate that they
but there
changed
wasn't
it. And
enough
then
yellow.
yeah, and then you got Optimus. Those are the 4 Autobots in this movie. Oh wait, sorry, there's a 5th. Called dude, I've already forgotten his name. We made this joke before the show started. Crosshairs, played by Joe DiMaggio. I literally before this movie, I was like, yeah, so there's Drift, there's Hound, I remembered their names too. I was like, Drift, Hound, Bumblebee, Optimus. That's the crew for this movie. I'm like, isn't there usually a 5th? Weird. Why don't I remember there being a 5th in this one? It's because he literally does nothing throughout this movie besides like jump off a thing and be kind of like Joe DiMaggio doing Bender if he had an accent.
Yeah. Oh, I've got parachutes.
That's the scene. That's the only scene I remember. You want to know how I remembered that there was a 5th Autobot in this? Was my brain going, wait, there's a scene where one of them does the parachute thing. What's that?
Yeah, and it happens for 1 second. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I couldn't remember who did it. I'm like, no, none of them are that color. None of them are that shape. Who the fuck is that guy that I remember suddenly? Who is he? And then I'm like, I watched the movie. I'm like, yeah, it's Crosshair, right? You're in this movie. Got it.
Which doesn't it all bug you? Like I know in the last movie we had well, not the last movie. 2 movies ago, we had the twins, which were
Yes.
really bad stereotypes. Does it bug you that there are still stupid stereotypes of people in each one of these movies?
Yes. Like,
Like Drift in this movie, for instance.
well, Drift is played by, I can't remember his name. He's a really
Ken
great
Watanabe.
actor, though. Yes. So I mean, he has that accent normally.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say to this man, change your accent so it's more Americanized.
But the design of the character,
Yeah, it's so
was
blatantly
very.
like, I don't care if he has a different accent, unless it's Hot Rod, because I'm gonna complain about Hot Rod and his accent when we get
Trust me, same. We're on the same page on that one. But like, Ken Watanabe is great. But they literally put his character in a classic samurai garb, and I'm like, is this a historical piece?
Yeah.
Why is he the only Autobot in like historically accurate garb for ancient history?
Ancient American
Why?
history, for one. And two, why does he like follow traditions of American people when all the other Autobots don't?
Also, he's a Bugatti in this one. What? Like, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. In the next one, he's a freaking Mercedes.
It's true. And he's a different color.
Which, that threw me off. That completely threw me off when I saw that. I'm like, because I saw a thumbnail for something about the Transformers. I saw a red Drift. I'm like, oh, that's a cool redesign for Drift. That's neat. I didn't realize they legitimately changed his color in between films. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Let us have some consistency. Is there any other blue Autobot why you would change him? No. Other than that's a good guy? No. Okay, then why the fuck did you change his color?
I mean, there was one who was a blue kind of good guy.
We'll get to him. Because it pisses me. Okay, we can talk about it briefly. It's not a spoiler.
No, I mean, is there anything else
Let's
we want
save
to talk about specifically in this movie?
The Dinobots.
Yes, let's talk Dinobots.
What a disappointment. Because they're fucking rad when they're on scene. But wouldn't it have been cool to see them actually transform more than the one time?
It wouldn't have been cool to see them more in the movie than the one time.
Right?
Like, when I see Dinobot and I hear Age of Extinction, I think, like, this is going to be a clash between, like, dinosaurs, or clash between Dinobots and people, and it's about the race of the world, but that's not at all what this is. I mean, in part of it, it's kind of a race for the world thing, but at the same time, it's not at all has anything to do with dinosaurs.
No, they're just there, and it pisses me off. I'm like, they could be so much cooler instead of just a MacGuffin to solve the end. That's what they become, and I hate it, because I'm like, the Dinobots could have been such a cool part of this entire movie. Like, could you imagine if they had shown up partway, and the Autobots and them clash, but then they realize their bigger threat is Galvatron and the other Transformers, and then they team up, and that was the story of this movie?
Yeah, like,
wow.
yeah, there's so many things we could have changed without actually, like, once we get into spoilers later on, I could talk about what I would have changed in this movie. And you pretty much brought it up then, though. Like, it's literally just that simple.
But it is that simple. Because this movie switches plots 3 times as well. If not more. Because it goes from a, like, escape thriller, sort of.
Yeah.
Into a spy infiltration. Into
a sci-fi horror.
Yeah. And into a... yeah, no, they have the sci-fi horror part, too, on the ship. Mm-hmm. Into a big battle, sci-fi epic battle at the end for the fate of the world. Like, this movie switches what the plot, the threat, and what is actually the theme of the movie 5 fucking times just there. And it probably does it more than that if you break it down even further. Mm-hmm. But I'm not gonna do that. The fact that it changes themes 5 fucking times bothers me. Oh.
For me, this one feels a little more organic. Like, I know they changed the idea of what they're doing multiple times. But it's not like in the earlier movies when it's like, all right, we're doing this. All right, we're doing this instead. Ready, go. All right. But in this movie, it's like one event leads to the next, which leads to the next. And sure, that does change their plans, but it feels a little organic. It feels kind of organic.
I mean, yes, it feels more organic, but it still feels like it's being beat over your head like a club with it too. I think that's my problem with it more is that like the movie does it 5 fucking times to you. It's like, ha ha, ha ha.
Aren't I clever?
Aren't we good? Was that organic? Did that feel like it changed the movie correctly? Again, like if it was less times than that, I don't think it would be as bad to me.
See, like
but
I get
does
that
it that many times.
I get that more with the next movie because
I'm not saying it's not with the other movie either. The other movie does it far worse and far more times, and I'm like,
because
what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, because at least like when I first started, like when I noticed that plots were changing and things, I wasn't too upset about it. But it like, especially because there's the moment when we hit the sci-fi horror, because they were still going over the same plot when we got there, which was, you know, get the thing.
Yes.
And at that point they were on get the thing because they had lost the thing. And because they had lost the thing, it started with them trying to escape. Then because they had lost the thing, they're like, we have to get the thing. And then we hit the sci-fi horror, which I was like, cool, this makes me think of, say, Aquaman, where it's still get the thing in Aquaman, but they take this moment to hit this like horror breach, and it changes the tone of the film.
I think Aquaman does it far better.
I would agree, but this was the part that made me think about it, especially because
That's fair.
Like the horror that we get in this movie isn't really, of course, horror, and it's not very tense because at this point, a lot of the tension has to deal with the humans, but once it starts getting tense for the humans, they introduce the Autobots. And then it's not tense anymore.
Well, and the other thing too is some of those robot designs on that part were so dumb. The googly-eyed looking fucking things.
Yeah, I was very confused about those.
What was that design?
Why do they have eyes?
Why? What the? Like, I could be fine with like if the eyes were consistent with the rest of the universe's eyes for things.
Even like
instead
other
of these.
Yeah.
Like Google eyes.
Yeah, even other people, other different types of monsters or machines, I guess, on that ship were normal. Like they had dogs, they had smaller people, but they had googly eye maintenance bots, I guess is the best way to put them.
Tear 'em up bots? I don't know, man. I don't know what their job was. Because they had a weird mouth thing too, and
their job was to jump scare the girl, even though they never pursued her.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. Like, this movie just exists.
Also, one of my problems, too, is it doesn't retcon stuff, but it retcon stuff, duh. But it doesn't, in my opinion, for what it's trying to do, because it obviously is trying to branch away from the first 3.
Yes.
It doesn't do enough to do that.
Okay.
Because I at least in the way that like you don't have a million questions about why we got from here to here in 5 years. What happened between here and there? Because there's a 5-year gap that there's questions about what happens to certain characters, why certain things aren't where they are, or why they are where they are, and how they got to where they are that aren't answered, and what's happened to certain people and stuff like that. Which we get more of the answers in the next one. But it just raises more questions by answering the questions, in my opinion, and I'll explain it more in spoiler, all right?
I feel like I got more answers in this movie than I did the next one. Like, sure, there are people missing, but it was explained, but it didn't, like the explanation was through the recordings that they found. And it didn't show everybody.
I'm not talking specifically about those. There are other people and other stuff that I'm like, how did we get from point A to point B? And I'll explain that more in spoilers. I know we're hyping up the spoiler part, but that's just like that's the best way to explain it.
Yeah, no worries.
Music as well. I have problems with the music.
Music to me in this movie wasn't memorable. It wasn't noticeable.
That's my problem.
It was there.
there's none of the because I've been watching this person called Sideways on YouTube. He talks a lot about light motifs, and that's the like usually that's the character's theme when they walk in a scene.
Yeah,
Like
like for instance, if you've seen Hamilton recently, it's the "I'm not throwing away my shot" motif that
yes,
happens over and over and over throughout the songs.
and that's Hamilton's motif. Or like in Star Wars, the Force's motif is dual suns. Whenever the scene with Luke and the dual suns, that becomes the Force scene theme for it. This movie doesn't use the leitmotifs it's established in the previous 3 films for certain stuff. Pretty much where you would expect it to be from the previous 3 films. They use them occasionally, sparsely, but not where you would expect them to be, because they're not where they're established in the previous movies. which on a breakdown for like how your brain can associate things, because previous established things have had those sounds, so you're supposed to think those things. That doesn't work when you start changing what those things mean partway through the franchise.
No, I hear you. Like they set up these cues and these meetings, and then they throw them away, where they could have had much more impactful moments because they used old motifs, but they didn't. So,
like, arriving to Earth should be used as such an impactful moment, but I don't remember where it is in this movie.
I don't.
I remember arriving to Earth in the first movie because it's one of it's the best scene. I remember in the third movie, that's the scene where the Autobots show up after you're like, oh my god, they're gone, quote unquote. You know they're not gone, but you're like, oh, I'm falling for your trick. To get absorbed in the movie, and then they show up, and you hear arriving to Earth, and that's the theme. That's the Autobots getting ready to do a thing, but they don't really use it in this, at least to a point where I recognized it, at least, which sucks. Because arriving to Earth is like the most memorable music in the Transformers movies.
Yeah,
I don't know,
looking
man.
at the soundtrack credits, there is no Rising Earth in this movie. So,
wow. That is disappointing on such a level. But that's the last thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay. I was trying to see, because I remember at one point there was Imagine Dragons. I was like, they changed the band.
Yes,
It's no longer
these
Linkin
two
Park,
movies
Imagine
have
Dragons.
Imagine Dragons on them.
Yeah. All right, Dev. So I think we've covered enough for this movie.
Yes.
I'm gonna give you your popcorn kernels.
I'm gonna use 4 of them.
Ooh.
It's under Revenge of the Fallen, but not by much, in my opinion, because they're both not good films. But I just know I dislike like they're on the same ballpark of, But like I'll probably end this one lower due to the fact that just like there's more moments of me just being disappointed where the plot goes and stuff like that.
Okay.
And there's less, and the parts that are supposed to be epic don't necessarily feel earned, and they end up being a letdown eventually anyways.
All right. Okay. For me, ultimately, I was gonna give it a 4.5 because it's there.
You did the exact thing I did. You dropped it down 0.5 from what you did for 2.
Yeah,
that's hilarious
it's
to me.
There, like I almost want to give it a 5 because to me, they're basically 3 and 4 are basically the exact same quality, and I like some of the approach that they have more in 4 than they do in 3. But ultimately, it's like you said, a lot more of a letdown. So there's that. All right, moving on. We're heading over to our next movie, which we're rounding up our adventure into the Transformers world because, this was the last technically chronological movie that was made for Transformers.
And we already watched Bumblebee.
Yep.
And we had pretty good high praise for it because we enjoyed that movie.
And
It's a fun coming-of-age story.
it was nice. And immediately, this movie throws all of that out. Or
Oh, yeah.
technically, Bumblebee throws all of this movie out, but
Man, this movie throws a lot out. So I'm gonna talk about. So this came out 3 years after the last one on June 21st, 2017, with a budget of $217 million. U.S. opening only made $44 million, with $130 million made U.S. and only $605 million only made for the cumulative world. This movie is 2 hours and 34 minutes. Okay, in the first hour, hold on, my thing is bothering me. I just I hear it more now. The AC kicked in. Sorry. In the first minute and 30 seconds, including the 30 seconds the Paramount opening takes, because it takes a full 30 seconds for that, there are 11 aspect ratio changes in the first minute and 30. Steven, do you know how many that is? How many seconds that is in between, on average, in between aspect ratio changes?
I would say about 2 seconds.
It's about 8 seconds. But I would say if I broke that down and took out that first 30 seconds, it would probably be about every 6 seconds then. If we take out the first 30 seconds for the Paramount logo, but I'm not taking it out because it does go into the movie with the catapults flying over the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't technically take that out because apparently it's part of the movie. But the reason it bothers me is because I was sitting here, I had it up on this monitor, I was playing Minecraft, like the shirt says.
Mm-hmm.
I did that the wrong way. And suddenly, I have it up and I'm listening and I'm watching it in the corner of my eye, kind of thing. And all of a sudden, I just see think, because it goes from, because it's theatrical, that's the big bar, right? Or the normal bar. There's full screen, theatrical, and widescreen, right?
Sure. The most commonly used one is 16:9, which is usually what a normal 1080p HD television is.
Yes.
So.
And then a theatrical would be where the bars come in.
Yeah, just slightly, and then we can get even more exotic with more widescreen viewings and whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. This breaks down between all three of those at different points, and it doesn't make sense to me.
The reason I can explain it away, like the only reason that I could think that it works, is because of the moods for each one of the scenes. When it's a desolate battle scene filled with carnage and death, it's very slim, large black bars. When it's a dramatic scene where the rulers are talking but there's no fighting happening, there's less black bars, but they're still it's important. It needs to be dramatic. And then when it's,
Establishing shots?
Yeah, establishing shots, or just, the guy drunk on his horse as he's riding on into the distance, it goes into normal because it's not dramatic. It's supposed to be a completely different change. And, that could be my technical explanation behind it.
The problem is, this movie throws all of that out the window because each scene you've described has all three of those versions of the bars part of it. At least cuts in the scene, I guess. And it blew my fucking mind because I've never seen a movie do that and do it so poorly. And it doesn't stop during this opening scene. It happens throughout the movie. It gets better and worse in parts. I will say that. There are parts where it's like, and then there's parts where it's like, and just stays.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll go back to, I'm like, what is going on? Usually during high intensity moments is when it's like cutting into three different things. I'm like, why?
See, that was, I didn't even notice that because I hadn't even cared at that point.
That's fair.
You
had an advantage on me.
There's so many, things you notice when I don't is so ridiculous. Normally I'm the one who's like, the cinematography here was this, the editing here was this. But whenever I'm like, I don't care, that's the moment you're like, God, this technical thing is a piece of shit.
It's because usually when you shut off is when the movie is so bad that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because the fact that my critical ass is the first time this is the first movie that's made me really think about aspect ratio. Mm-hmm. Because it was done poorly. Because usually it's done well. Even in bad films, aspect ratio isn't something that I would normally have noticed because it's not done poorly. It's impressive that I've noticed it and actually had to take account to it because in the first minute and 30 seconds, it happens 11 times. Like, what the fuck?
Like, that's not even what I care about. Like, feels
Oh,
like
I
one of
know.
those. I don't want you to keep coming back to this, okay? We've established
No, we
that
won't.
you don't
We've
like
established
this.
that this is a problem. This is a problem with this movie.
Yeah.
And I will say, if you're watching this movie and you have issues with, like, if you notice it and you have problems with, like, motion sickness and stuff like that, it could, like, it made me, like, for a moment there, I had to pause and be like, okay, what the fuck? Because it was just like, and I'm like, dude, it's hurting my head. I had to pause for a second, walk away, go grab a drink, come back. Because it was just like
I was just, yeah. Because I was just sitting there watching it the whole time, so I didn't look away. I was taking notes, as I had said. So I was just watching it, and I was fine with it. So
that's fine. Again, this is the thing. Certain people are going to pick on certain things in certain movies.
Yeah, but now that we've established this, I don't want to keep coming back to it like you did.
I'm fine with it. I had to have my rant about it.
Okay.
The only time I will say that I may bring it back up again is during spoilers, because when we talk about the beginning of the movie.
That's totally fine.
Okay.
But like other things I want to talk about.
We negotiated that out.
Yeah, other things I want to talk about. I like how they got rid of all of the crappy humans from the last movie and brought back the good humans from the first 3 movies, Lennox and Simmons.
And the general, which, man.
So I didn't care for the general. He could be your favorite. He's not mine.
He's not my favorite. I'm just saying they brought him back. Because he was in all 3 of the first movies. Because he was the general guy who was in the first camp scene when Blackout attacked General Morshauer. Then he was, the guy behind the screen who never saw Optimus during the second movie, and then he's in the third one. Yeah, he's been behind the screen. And they brought back Josh Duhamel for Colonel William Lennox. And it was cool having Lennox back, and it was cool having the general back because I think that establishes the world still exists.
Yeah.
But did they get stupider?
They did. It also made me wish Shia was there in some aspect. Because if
they don't exactly explain what happened to Shia.
No, he just goes on with his life after the 3rd movie. And after that point, we're supposed to believe that he doesn't care what happens to Bumblebee anymore. So, there's that.
Well, they also leave it ambiguous enough that, like, is he dead? Is he not dead? Who knows? Because they say, like, there's a plot about the Witwickens.
Yeah, they're Witwickens, not the Witwickies, the Witwickens.
But their family is part of the Witwickens.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that there's the last of them. So is he? And there's a photo of him. It's just it's so
I don't think
ambiguous.
The difference here is the old man, whatever his name is the last Witwicken, which is the royalty line. He's just a cousin or something of Shia's character.
Maybe. Also, the guy as you're talking about is Sir Edward Burton, played by Anthony fucking Hopkins. Who had dirt on Anthony Hopkins to get him into this movie? They got Hannibal Lecter. They got the Odin into this movie. What the fuck?
He had a fun role. I thought it was kind of funny. But at the same time, like, his role was kind of pointless. Like, this whole movie, ultimately, before we get into more nitty-gritty, this whole movie is just dumb. Like,
yes.
It's fetch quest after fetch quest after fetch quest. There is barely any progression of characters, if any at all. They completely ignore things that happened in the last movie. And then they introduce more villains who are yet again absolutely pointless. And they have no need to be in here. And then just everything else about this movie, nothing stood out to me. There was no exciting scenes. There was no exciting action. None of the editing was cool. Like, it might have stood out to Dev, but it just completely went over my head. Because this movie exists. Like, the best note that I have on my barely over half a pages of notes is quality chuckles. That's it.
Occasionally it's got quality chuckles,
yeah,
I will say that.
Like,
I found myself laughing. I was like, how am I laughing at this movie? I'm not enjoying myself. Am I laughing out of, like, desperation for any levity for my, like, brain at this point? Because I mean, there's levity in this film, but it's not groundbreaking, or like the movie doesn't. I don't know, man. It
Yeah.
just doesn't always.
And plus, what they do with some of the characters, like I didn't mention it in the last movie, but I should have. Like movie 4, we have Lucas, who is our comic relief, which after what happens to Lucas happens, our comic relief becomes Tucci, and
Yes.
it's like they're at that point, like Tucci's character and God, I'm really bad with names.
Yeah, T.J. Miller.
Yes, and TJ's Miller characters couldn't be further from the same character. But then by the end of the film, they're the same character. And that kind of happens in this movie too, where by the end of the film, some of our side characters are just the same character as some of our earlier characters who we got rid of. And then we have this whole like trip through memory lane going through the past, and that was absolutely the dumbest thing ever.
There are multiple things that happen throughout this movie that seem to have been knowledge by the characters who have said, well, this didn't. Well, I mean, we have no idea about this. That break, so because this one reconnects this part of the series back to the other movies deeply. So immediately, like, your brain's gonna be like, okay, so the other three movies do matter, and what they say matter. Okay, then why the fuck is Bumblebee in World War II? Why the fuck are there Transformers in medieval England?
Like, yeah, because I want to think about this. I want to think about this timeline for a second. In Transformers 4, they established that Transformers have been here since the dinosaurs.
Well, technically, think about this. Extinction of the dinosaurs would have happened after Pangea came apart, correct?
Technically, yes. Well, no, I think it was around the same period in time.
No, because humans, because we would have been, for mammals to take, Pangea had to have been, I think, like starting to split apart would have been like 100 million to 150 million years ago. I want to say maybe 200 million years ago. I could be wrong.
According to Google, it says here that dinosaurs lived on Pangea.
When did it start splitting, though? If it says into what we know the world as.
Sorry about my microphone sounds. When did Pangea split? We're getting into technicalities here, but
Yes, but it plays into the timeline.
it says here that Pangea split up 200 million years ago, but dinosaurs went extinct 230 million years ago.
They say 65 million years ago in this. Did they not actually put research into dinosaurs' extinction? What the fuck? Okay. Well, okay, you're correct then. You are correct. Dinosaurs would have happened first. But that still doesn't mean that the fact that, I mean, this is a spoiler, but it's the plot of the movie.
Like,
that Earth is, which I find this hilarious
don't go
because I
into
knew
super
this.
detail, please. I know I guessed it last week, but still.
Yes. I knew about it and I played it off as though I didn't. But I found it brutally hilarious that you were like spot on. But that means that this thing had to have happened, right?
Yeah.
To create this.
Technically, theoretically, Transformers were always there. If you really want to get into it.
Yes, but the thing that I'm bringing up is that the creators came to here and did the thing that they did, right?
Yeah.
But the creators were at war with the thing that was here already.
Yeah.
So why wasn't there conflict then?
I don't know. But yeah, but still, going into the timeline, we have the
Yes.
dinosaur things that happened. Then, technically, I think it's either the pyramids or the Lancelot. I don't know my time period.
Pyramids would be first.
But yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's pyramids.
Are far older.
Yeah, and then there's the Age of Lancelot. And at
Yes.
each one of these, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we didn't know that they existed. But then we get to freaking Bumblebee, the actual movie, where it's like, oh, Bumblebee's first appearance is 5-6 years before he meets Shia LaBeouf. Not World War II.
No, it's years before.
I
It's in the 80s, but I know what you're getting at. It should be. He should know what Earth is.
yeah.
Also, what the fuck did they do to Hot Rod?
I don't know. Like his accent was terrible. I don't know why he's French.
No, that's just actually. He's played by Omar Sy, and I believe he is a French actor.
Still, but
But
why?
I know
is...
they made him ham it up.
Yeah. Why? Why? This is just why the hell is he a French car? Like, why does he?
He's also a Lamborghini.
I don't care
Which,
about.
if I
cars
remember
technically,
correctly,
but-
if I remember correctly, I think Lamborghinis are Italian. I'll look it up real quick.
Lamborghinis are Italy.
I was right. Okay, cool. Why is he a Lamborghini then? I don't get it. There's a separation there.
I mean,
If you
like,
know cars.
I was about to say I don't know cars, so
That's fair.
Them being a nationality compared to their car doesn't really matter to me, except the fact that they just have these really. They're not human, so why do they have these really blatant, awful human accents? That, like,
Well, the
I
other
mean,
thing too
like,
is
I don't mean that his accent itself.
no,
is
no.
awful,
It's just that like
but-
they make him ham it up in it. That's the thing.
like
I'm pretty sure his like Michael Bay went, "Hey, could you just I know you're French. Could you just turn it up to 11?"
Can you do an American doing a bad French accent? Hoot, root. What was that? Hoot, root. Yes.
Also, Bumblebee and Hot Rod are buddies, which is something from like the actual series. But it's established in this movie that they knew each other, and Hot Rod's been on Earth this entire time. Why hasn't he been brought up before? Because that's the dude who, in the OG movie, becomes Rodimus Prime in it, and it's cool as hell. But we just glazed over that idea, and we're like, oh, we're gonna introduce him in the 5th movie because we want to. What the? They could have done some cool shit with him.
So this is one of these moments where we're gonna have a disagreement only because my nostalgia isn't gonna tell me that Hot Rod needs to be more important. Like,
Well,
go ahead.
I'm also looking at it from a timeline perspective because he's been there at least since the 40s. What the shit was he doing when Chicago was happening?
He was protecting Earl. What's his name? Sir Edmund Burton.
No, because he wasn't even protecting him.
Sorry, let me
He was
rephrase
protecting
that.
the girl.
He was protecting the Wembley family, which I think it's kind of funny because Wembley, specifically, is also the name of the scientist in the 4th movie who likes eating donuts. So,
the fact that Stanley Tucci plays Merlin in this, but isn't related to his character in the last one by any means, from what we understand. Why bring him back for that role if you're not going to have his character come back from the last movie?
see, I'm not
It's
offended by
distracting to
Stanley.
me.
I was not distracted by it either. Like, he's so maked up and covered in hair that he's a different person. He's a different character. Like, I'm only gonna say because I've seen this movie recently. It's like complaining that in the Well, it's not technically a movie. It's like complaining in the Hamilton movie recording that one actor plays two different characters, even though they're still the same play.
Yes, but that's I will say, difference is stage. 2, the problem I have with it is from a casual perspective, okay? When you see someone play a character that's already been established, or someone who's played a character already in the franchise, usually your brain immediately connects the two. Because you're like, oh, these two probably have some sort of relation. Shit, Seth Rogen's doing an entire movie about it coming out soon, called I think The American Pickle or something like that, where he plays his great grandfather who fell into a pickle vat and then came out 100 years later. Really weird concept. I saw the trailer for it. I'm like, this all right, Seth Rogen. Let's see what it is. But I went, but it's a very established thing within film. for casual audiences to make the connect the dots, um, because it's been established in other films, and that's just what films do, is when they do that, and it's how you associate those people to be related to each other in some way. Um, at least that's the norm. All right.
I was about to say, I'm thinking of like a bunch of different. Well, I can't think of specific names off the top of my head, but I'm thinking of the MCU where they've had side characters played by certain actors, and then that actor becomes a main character as a different role. Like it's happened at least twice in the MCU that I can think of. I just can't remember which person it was specifically.
Well, they didn't play. The thing is, I'll say they didn't play huge roles in the other films before they became before they played the role that they had, the big character.
Like there was still a character where their face was completely visible. And this, by the way, Merlin's not a big character.
Okay, he's big enough for the first 10 minutes to be evolved around him and King Arthur.
10 minutes out of a 2-hour and 30-minute film.
Okay, fair, but it's the establishing of the movie. If that makes sense. And if you just watch these within 2 days, your brain's immediately going to associate, at least from a casual perspective, Stanley Tucci to Stanley Tucci. Because they're the same person. In film, a lot of times, if they're the same person, usually they are. If there's an ancient person being played by the same individual, they're usually related in some way.
Would you have felt better if they said the guy was related to Merlin? Like Stanley Tucci's character was actually related to Merlin?
Yeah, maybe. I think so. Or brought him back for just a brief moment and like... Or like if he was on the fucking list of family tree things and like he got X'd out because he died. Because that would be definitive evidence that he was dead. You know what I mean? And why he's not in this movie. The second most memorable character from the last movie. Same thing with Shia. Like... It's things like that just like, why aren't they there? They obviously have some sort of connection with the main character at this point. It's like, why bring Simmons back into this movie? I love seeing Simmons because he's entertaining. John Turturro is John Turturro. But why is he in this movie?
Like, he's just in here because it's trying to connect all their things back together, honestly. Like,
yeah,
he's in here because it explains away a joke that they make about Cuba, which makes me think that he's supposed to be, I guess, Castro now?
No, he's still Simmons in Cuba with he's hanging out with the 45 or 48. God, I can't remember his fucking goddamn robot name. Was that Wheels? I think it's Wheels. No, Wheels is one of the bad guys. Ace Mode, Nitro Zeus. Did they just call him Volleybot? Had a name in the third movie. What the fuck?
So yeah, that's one thing.
Oh, that bothers me. Well, and then the other thing too is like, okay, so we've seen both the little robots in these last two films, right? We saw Brains in the last one, and we see Wheel in this one. I don't see why. I don't know why, and why one's in one and the other's in the other, and they're not both in. Like, I don't get why bringing either of them back without, like, why bring Brains back if he's not going to be in this one, and why bring Wheels back in general?
There was no point. It's just there. Like, this whole movie, there is no point to it, in my honest opinion. Like,
I agree.
It literally just exists to exist. Even, like, the conflicts in this movie, if we want to actually get down to, like, the storytelling in this movie.
Let's do it.
Like, the conflicts in this movie are Optimus isn't around, and so we have to figure stuff out ourselves. And now that we're figuring stuff out ourselves, things aren't really quite going out so well. But there isn't really a bad guy at this point in time. We get through like the bad guy, I guess technically is another secret organization called the TRF. Um,
Yeah.
which that makes a fifth secret organization. However, this one's not just American, I believe. I think it's world round, but I can't remember. Uh, they essentially are our bad guys, but they don't aren't really the bad guys in the beginning. Then we
Because also freaking Lennox is working with them.
yeah, because Lennox this whole time, like it's weird because it seems to me like Lennox is a mole in the TRF. At least that's how they make
But
it established.
they know he's part of the military?
Yeah, so it's like he's not a mole, but whatever. And then
and they team up with fucking Megatron.
Yeah.
Steven. And also Megatron's Megatron now
yeah,
instead
it's
of
Megatron.
Galvatron.
He's not Galvatron. So that was the thing I said that they just threw out and completely ignored.
Oh!
They introduce our new bad guy Quintessa, who gets 5 minutes of screen time in this 2.5-hour movie.
Yeah.
They introduce the idea of really crappy intro titles when they're introducing characters, and it's only for one scene.
It's only for one scene. You know what? I would have been fine with those intros for Decepticons if it was established 4 fucking movies ago.
Yeah.
Because that would have made the whole thing with who's who in the movies for the villains easier. B, that when they get killed off, it's not going to be as big of a deal because we'll get some new. We'll meet the new Decepticon team. You know, we'll get the new team intro, and I'm okay with them having a crappy intro because they're the villains. So you know, they look goofy and shit like that sometimes, and they're not supposed to like always be the most intimidating, like that fucking Mohawk.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about.
He's Mohawk. His name is legitimately Mohawk.
Okay. Yeah, but like, it just reminds me of this movie specifically reminds me of 2 other movies, which we also thought were bad, which was the remake of the Hellboy movie. And it also makes me think of I just lost it as I was about to say it. God, I hate how my brain works.
I hate when that happens, man.
Yeah. It also reminds me of just basically other random Fetch Quest films. Like, Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Like, this movie takes the worst things from both of those, mashes it together, and it's like, Transformers! Like,
And throws the history of the last 2 movies in and out of this movie.
like this movie is 100% the one that I will agree with you, retcons everything, and has absolutely no right to. Which then is immediately thrown out the window by the next movie, which is a prequel movie, Bumblebee. But
I will say the reason why that one's more like it's also ambiguous whether or not certain things are where they're supposed to be during that time, because they wanted it to be available for reboot, but also wanted it, if they continue this timeline, to still fit in there.
like
Which breaks the timeline even further, but that's just me.
I want them to continue this timeline only because I want to see what they're gonna do with what they've set up. Like, because they leave this movie on a cliffhanger, which
It's the first one to have like
blatant
mid-credit
obvious.
it's the first one to have a credit scene.
I
That
mean,
wasn't like goofy.
I was about to say the first 3 movies did have early like start of credit end scenes, but they were quick. Like, oh, life is back to normal and we're happy again.
It wasn't really setting anything up besides the first one where Starscream flies off into space, and you're like, oh, well, duh, Starscream got away. Because it's Starscream. I do like the reference to Starscream in this one. It still kind of sucks that he's not in the movie, because he would be really entertaining to play off of Megatron. Because you know what would have been cool? What if we got the original voice actor of Starscream to come back and play that along with the original actor of Megatron? Oh wait, we fucking killed him!
I mean, technically we killed Megatron too, but he still exists.
He still exists. Which it doesn't make sense to me why we would introduce Galvatron in the last one just to retcon him to look different, but still so similar to the look he had in the original 3 movies.
And he doesn't do the new transformation either. He's gone back to his old transformation. So he
Yeah.
is obviously not Galvatron anymore. So if I want to be clever, I'm going to say that there's a Galvatron and a Megatron now. But we don't know this because the movie doesn't establish this kind of information.
I mean, you could say that because I can't. There's no way for me to refute that. For all we know, they found another Allspark sliver and went to the head of Megatron and rebuilt him.
Yeah. So who knows? Like, honestly,
knows?
we genuinely don't know. Because, especially, the one thing that I liked about the last movie was it didn't have an obvious MacGuffin throughout the whole film. Like, in the first movie, it was the Allspark. The second movie, it was the spark of the
Matrix of leadership.
Yeah.
I got you. No worry.
And
then the next one, it's the Star Bridge or the
pillars.
The pillars, yeah, which are the bridge to, they're the interdimensional bridges.
Whatever, which still technically existed. And then, last movie there was a moment that was kind of fetch questy, but it felt organic and all right to me. And then this movie was 100% all fetch quest. It started.
Every character had a fetch quest.
Yes, it technically started with a passing of the torch, where it's like, this is your responsibility now. But then after that point, we go from this to that to get to this to go to that to do this other thing to do that.
Well, it's multiple characters on fetch quest too, because we have them chasing the thing that they need, but that group with the thing is chasing something else. So they're constantly being chased, and then the people following the people chasing the thing, chasing after the other thing, because they want the thing at the end. I'm like, why? Why is this so elaborate? This isn't Mission Impossible.
And then,
Like...
oh, I forgot to mention, technically in the last movie, I guess the moral of that movie was have hope and faith in humanity, because we're bound to do the right thing eventually. But in this movie...
we still haven't done it.
Yeah. In this movie, I'd say like the moral of the story is something like friendship, where it's friendship and family is what's important. But it does such a terrible job at it.
It does, dude.
Especially because they like ex machina a solution.
They do, dude. Straight up. The big climactic moment during one of the last fights, and they go, wait.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Wait. What? Yeah, that's basically what they did.
Friendship!
Yeah. Oh, I've been blessed. Yeah. So, just like this movie was by far the laziest written, and it was only made just so they could do ridiculous action pieces. Like, and even then,
they don't even do that great of action pieces.
yeah, like the interesting thing about this movie is the fact that there's these giant metal structures falling from the sky. But even then, they don't do anything. We don't hear about the casualties or the damage or any of that
we hear
stuff.
about, we don't see it.
Yeah.
We're just told through news broadcast, which is the laziest and most annoying way to relay information in this day and age. Because I am so tired of it. Because, like, I will take narration, I will take flashback, I will take multiple other ways. But the continual issue of going, like, today, 13 million people died from a thing hitting the earth and dragging. Show us the destruction. Show us death and destruction so we can associate them. Wow, man, this is terrible. We don't see any of it. We just see some, like, it just looks like it's sparking off the ground.
We see a little bit of dragging, but not, like, what's caused by said dragging.
Yeah. We just see some, because it's like an orbit shot, and we just kind of see some, like, scrapes on the ground.
Mm-hmm. I think
and
there's
like,
one point where we get to see it from, like, within a city's perspective, but we don't get to see it come in contact with the city at all.
No.
So, if I'm remembering right, I'm not sure if I am. So, but yeah. And then we get all these other dumb things. Like, there's a plot line about young kids and family once again, but that young kid is only in the beginning and the very end of the film.
Why? Why introduce them and take them out that soon?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know.
Also, there's a character who you think dies, or like makes what you think would be the sacrifice play early in the movie, and then comes back when they go back to that area, and he's just fine. I'll explain it more in spoilers what exactly happens, but it doesn't make sense because the last things he's like, "Don't worry, I'll hold him off." No, come with us. No, you guys get going. I'll hold him off, and then he gets obliterated by fucking Megatron. And the next time we go back to that spot,
I remember that. He's still there.
He's just fine.
Yeah, I remember that part.
I'm like, why?
Who knows?
I thought Rise of Skywalker was bad about that.
I've got nothing else to say other
bothers
than
me,
spoilers, honestly.
All right, I'm fine with going into spoilers with this because I'm gonna rant more during spoilers because I can actually dig
That's
into
totally
it.
fine. Like, I have more to spoil over 4 than 5, but
That's fair. All right, I'll give you your popcorn then.
this gets a solid 3.5.
Ooh, you went higher than me.
Really?
Yeah, I give it a 2.5. This is by far is. Hey, listen.
You're such a weird casual. Oh my god.
If I have established like joy for a franchise, I'm gonna be harsher when it just shits the bed entirely. It's why I'm harder on the DC movies because I have established love for the DC franchises. It's why I was harder on the Hobbit. It's consistent for me. It's why I'm hard on fucking Death Note movie.
But I feel like overall, I'm the most consistent out of everybody here.
You probably. You're more consistent than I am. I'm not going to deny that.
And you're the one who calls me a hypocrite.
Well, no. I guess I'm consistent in the sense that if I have a pre-existing relationship with a property, I'm more defensive of it if someone just shits all over it. So, that does put it at a 3.
This movie sucked.
This movie sucked. I think officially is the lowest rating we've given a movie this year.
This year, probably.
The closest we got was a 3.5 for The Mummy. Or not The Mummy, but Mummy. Or yeah, it is The Mummy. Never mind. It is The Mummy. I got a 3.5. Oh, this movie's bad, man.
It's funny because this movie actually has a higher rating in IMDb than...
Which I don't get, but if you look at the Metacritic, it's... Because Age of Extinction 32 and then Last Night at like 27.
Sorry, I'm looking at
yeah.
movie news here. But let's hop into spoilers. I'm going to press the thing.
Let's get ready to spoil!
I'm just gonna...
You want to start with Ford spoilers
Sure,
for you
why
to get
not?
those out of your way?
I mean, ultimately, the whole it's gonna. My spoilers essentially overlap because the big thing is they just stop caring. They genuinely stop caring about what they're doing in these movies. Like with 4 specifically, they introduce this super interesting idea of being able to transform anything into anything. You could have a sphere that turns into Beats by Dre, which turns into a gun, which, by the way, I thought was a weird scene when he's pointing a gun at her, and they're just like, ha 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 ha, ha, you have a gun pointed at me,
Right?
But there's that.
How do bolts work with that thing?
Who knows? But they just work. Either way. But then, after that, they introduce that the Transformers that they have built can essentially transform into any shape that they want, but they don't. They transform between car and person, and then they turn into blocks while they're flying through the air, which turns into a really interesting moment where like Megatron or Galvatron dodges Bumblebee, but then immediately after that they completely forget that these aren't normal Transformers, where they are once again just average everyday Transformers who will blow up and be destroyed like, you know,
every other one. There's no... they should have been more of a threat.
Yeah, easily. Very easily. Especially because by the look of it, they can turn into little tiny cubes. So I feel like you should be able to destroy them, they crumble apart, and then reassemble. Like, I feel like that's just something that those Transformers should have been able to do.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, but they didn't. And then it's all compounded on the fact that Galvatron / these Decepticons bitch out at the end, where there are conflicts for about maybe 30 minutes, and then as soon as Optimus Prime shows up, Galvatron's like, peace! I'm out of here, bitches! Decepticons!
I'll be back.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Yeah, Decepticons,
Optimus.
let's get out of here. And then, they're gone. That's the end of the Decepticons for this movie. That was like 30 minutes of conflict. Same thing with Lockdown. He shows up for certain scenes. He's the big bad in this movie, is what it feels like. And even then...
Supposed to be.
Yeah, supposed
He's
to
got a really cool design.
Yeah, he's got a really interesting design, especially like how, like, his face turns into the gun. Like, that is really cool.
You can turn any point of him into a gun, and I'm like, that's kind of rad, dude.
Yeah. So, that I really enjoyed. But then at the same time, Lockdown is dumb. Like, he doesn't even know his own fucking ship. Like, the thing just lost. You lost 1/5 of your ship. He doesn't realize it until he's halfway across the fucking galaxy. And he's like, oh, we gotta go back and get Optimus Prime. And then when he gets back, he's just dead right away. Like, he shows up, he's dead.
He gets killed in such a lame way. Because, like, I would have liked to seen, like, an actual fight between him and Optimus. But what happens is he pins Optimus, starts fighting the human and Bumblebee, and then the other two humans pull the sword out of Optimus. The sword flips into the air. Optimus catches it and just cuts him down the center.
That was
What
one of
the
those.
fuck?
That was one of those Optimus. You're really overpowered, man. Like, that was one of those moments. Even though he was just underpowered 1 second ago, where he couldn't remove a sword from his own chest.
Ah!
And then this ultimately had me super confused because Lockdown's whole thing is he was brought from the creators. Yeah. He's this neutral, destructive force which is just there to grab Optimus. Which I think it would have been better if he was there to kill both Decepticons and Autobots. Like, he was going after Megatron and whatever.
Yeah, he had to capture both of them because they're brothers.
Yeah.
That would have been... But he realizes Megatron's dead, but then he realizes Galvatron is Megatron. You know what? God, we can make this movie so much better just by talking about it.
Yeah, and I was confused because the creators created Cybertron, supposedly.
Yes.
And on Cybertron, the Autobots and the Decepticons fought. But at the same time, the creators don't care about Cybertron to the point where, like, it's just so confusing. Like, I genuinely thought that the creators lived to somewhere else other than Cybertron.
Yes.
But
they're supposed to.
Yeah, but then we get to the 5th movie, and we meet Quintessa, which she's technically... they call her the deceiving god or whatever, but she's introduced to us in the movie as the Prime of Life. And even then, she's still introduced as a Prime who deceives other robots. So...
Well, okay, and the other thing that this breaks, okay, in the timeline, is that... So, we know that Optimus fought on Cybertron.
Yes.
Right? Okay. But, during King Arthur's time, the 12 Knights left... and landed there.
And supposedly the world was already destroyed by that point.
Yeah. They say that line, and I'm like, hold up. Wait a minute. Why? How? We still have so much... Because the fact of the matter is, Sentinel Prime leaves and crashes on Earth, or on the moon, in the 60s. Which means the fight for Cybertron is still happening during that time.
Yeah, so... somewhere between the 1700s, maybe the 1200s, we'll say. We can go even further back and say the 00s. Like, it's year 1, we'll say, if we want to. And then we go to 1960s. The war is going on for that fucking long.
Well, it's been going on since that long because also we got the... Which, this also breaks shit, too. Because...
Unicron!
Well, not even just that. We haven't even touched on that yet, okay? The fact that the Primes and the Fallen came to Earth during the time, like, you know, and the pyramids and all that happens. Well, okay, look at this. If that had happened, that's before the Knights leave, which means Quintessa was on Cybertron during the Civil War that starts. because that's the start of the Autobots and Decepticons war. Because the Fallen's the first Decepticon, and the Primes are the original. Those original Primes are the leaders of the original Autobots that pass the torch of the Prime down.
Yeah.
Because the Prime isn't your blood; it's you. You get turned into a Prime.
Yeah.
Like
there was if you watch the Netflix Transformers show, they actually explain that, which I really like, where they show that Optimus wasn't Optimus before he was turned into a Prime. He was a completely different person.
He was a completely different person. He was part of the Autobots who just kind of it was right place, right time, kind of. And had the right heart to do it, and he got, at least in it's, he gets the matrix of leadership, stuff like that. But like that would, because they also talk about in this world that the Primes are a bloodline, sort of, which doesn't work because then Megatron would be a Prime.
Technically, yes.
But he's not, and it starts, like, the more you think about, especially because of this movie, the rest of the movies, it just breaks down fundamentally. And none of it makes sense, especially given the fact that Earth is Unicron?
Yeah, like, why the hell is Earth Unicron? Like, it's interesting because it's like, you think about it, Earth and Cybertron have perpetually been fighting each other since the beginning of time, we'll say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have the seeding event that happened during the dinosaurs, which, if he was Unicron and they were the creators seeding the world, he would have been pissed. He would have destroyed those creators at that moment.
Yeah.
Because he's literally a fucking planet. So.
Yeah. Also, one of the worst travesties, the Earth being Unicron, we can't see it transform without killing everything.
That's 100% true. Like, that was one thing that I was wanted to see, because they end the last night with a cliffhanger of we seeing a human form of Quintessa at one of the spikes of Unicron.
Yes.
Which is really interesting because of a couple of things. One, it's a Transformer is a human again, which we haven't seen since the second movie.
Yep, I didn't even know that was in this.
Neither did I, so that was interesting. And two, it makes me really confused because of the Pangea thing. Because if Unicron and his 6 columns were connected when Pangea was there, what does he look like now that the continents are apart? Like,
also, who the fuck set up Stonehenge?
That's also true. Like, yeah,
the people who would have built that were not around when Pangea was connected like that.
But hey, it's the center of Pangea apparently. So there's that. I mean, that's a fun. That's a fun little theory. If
it's accurate, yeah,
that'd be really cool. But
at least center to where those spikes came up.
Yeah, but then, we also have other things that bug me. Where, like, this movie, it starts with the talisman, going into the last night. It starts with Wahlberg getting the talisman, which that talisman, by the way, is a machina on its own, where it can block bullets, yet also still be sentient and create witty banter moments because this lady has the hots for Wahlberg, and then it turns into a sword. Like, so this talisman...
Dude, and it only does it once.
Yeah.
It does each one of those things once. It doesn't do those again, and it's really annoying because I'm like, why do it the one time? Also, why is Mark Wahlberg the last knight? When the last movie was going over Optimus being a knight.
Yeah, and him being the last knight, essentially. So Wahlberg...
And they're not even the last knight, because the other knights are still alive, apparently. Which some of them died during the fight when Optimus gets in there. So how the hell do they create the dragon at the end if they're not all there to create the dragon? Dude, it's so frustrating.
And then so we have the talisman, which the talisman was originally, we were told that the talisman was originally to lead us to the staff. But then we learned that before we can get to the staff, we have to find this book, which we only learn about the book because of Simmons, which is weird. Like, Simmons knows about this book because him and Earl, what's his name, are talking about it. But we find out that we need the book before we can find the staff. Once we find out where the staff is, we have to figure out how to get to the staff. So then we have to get the sub after getting the book, which the book.
The sub is a transformer,
Yeah.
but not.
The sub is a transformer that we never see transform, that we never see show any sign of sentience, other than the fact that she touches it and it autopilots to the sunken ship. Which, how did Optimus get to the fucking sunken ship?
He rocketed down, which, by the way, the fact that Optimus has rocket boots kills half of the things going on in this movie.
Yeah, especially like what happened to the plane part where he turns into a freaking plane and flies around.
It's not needed anymore. And the other problem too is the fact that he disappears during the climax of this movie. Like, where the fuck's Prime at?
Mm-hmm.
He rocketed, booted up to where they were going before they got up there.
And
He
he's
was like,
gone.
"I'm going," and then he's just gone. Why? At least three had, at least the last ones. Okay, we had him dying. We had him getting stuck in the cables, and then him being in a fight, or the ship that he was on being crash landed further away, and him riding the dinosaurs in. Why he wasn't in the conflict at the time? There's an explanation. Not where the fuck is Prime? I don't know. What? As flimsy as some of those other ones are, at least there's a reason for him not being there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
This movie's
Also, the Knight's in a Decepticon ship. The first Knight, the green one.
yeah, that one was kind of weird. Like how I was weird because of a couple reasons. Aren't all 12 knights on the ship? So how is this one knight, the green one, on the Decepticon ship in whatever city they're in?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Which means he was in the Battle of Chicago. There's so many questions just from that that don't get answered.
Yeah, and then we go later on to, like you said, where we get to see Optimus kill a knight, but then we still have 10 of them, which can make the dragon, even though apparently needed 12. And now we have Optimus and Mark Wahlberg as knights now as two, apparently. So, but Mark Wahlberg can't
title's a
transform, so
Well, he's one of the Knights of the Round Table, part of King Arthur's court. Which, why the fuck is the staff wood when it transforms into wood? Doesn't make sense to me either.
it doesn't to me. Like, it makes sense that it's wood to me because it's like, oh, there's nothing special. I'm not a Cybertronian thing. Oh, the bloodline activated me? Cool. Which, that kind of sucks that any Transformer appears, like Megatron, Optimus, and Quintessa can use the staff, but only Vivian can use it as a human.
Yep.
Even though all the other Autobots are like, we need her to do this.
Does that mean Shia can use it?
I would think yes. But no, because he's not a Wembley. A direct...
Oh.
Yeah, a direct...
Does that mean that scientist could then?
I want to look that up. That scientist's name is Gil Wembley. So it makes me wonder if Gil is Vivian's father.
But no, he's dead before, well before then, right? The father figure.
I would think so.
Also, he looked real different in the flashback. Yeah. He had black hair, if I remember correctly. Oh, but I can't argue that maybe it was.
Related to Vivian Wembley. Let's see. Gil Wembley. I'm looking up his
his
this
Transformers.
Is in German. Can't read that. Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. So can I talk about Hot Rod some more?
Sure.
Okay. You know what would have been cool? If he was introduced earlier, and so that when Optimus left, he gave Hot Rod the thing, the Matrix of Leadership, and he became Rodimus Prime, so that we had an actual leader for the Autobots while freaking Optimus left, instead of Bumblebee, who can't talk in these movies and is apparently a teenager for the last fucking 100 years.
Like, I was definitely bummed out that some of the conflict between the Autobots was between Bumblebee and Drift, whatever his name is.
fucking Crosshair again.
No, well, not necessarily. I'm thinking the samurai guy.
Well, you're talking about in the first movie?
Yeah,
Or
because
in the fourth movie?
yeah, in the fourth movie, like because Crosshair is he's like, yes, I'm gonna be leader, but it's after these two kill themselves. Like he's not gonna do anything to make himself leader. It's Drift and Bumblebee who are fighting the whole time. Like I'm in charge, I'm in charge, I'm in charge. But by the fifth movie, Bumblebee and Drift are still kind of fighting over who's in charge. But I feel like it would be a much better story if Bumblebee was actually in charge. Like they had learned from their past experiences and actually listened to Optimus when he's like, Bumblebee, you're in charge.
Dude, there's so many ways we could make this movie better. And it infuriates me.
One thing that I would do with Last Night, I would have Optimus be more present. Like,
Yeah,
even
dude!
as the bad guy. He's the bad guy for 3 minutes.
Seriously, he shows up, takes the staff, gets his ass whooped.
Like, even before that, he shows up to Cybertron. He meets Quintessa and is immediately captured. And then from that point on, he's been being brainwashed. But we don't see him again until he's the bad guy. And then he's instantly changed back from Bumblebee being like, you're my friends and I would die for you.
Which, what the fuck? He talks now?
Yeah. He hadn't talked since the first movie.
And even then, it wasn't like real functioning. It's not his actual voice. I think it's like some modulation that he's able to do. Because his actual voice is more like a voice, not this sort of robotic, like you typed it in to a speech thing that
That's
has a little bit
what
more.
happens with Day Trader, like when the Day Trader voice box enters into place.
I thought that was kind of funny, at least.
It was definitely yeah, like that one was the most obvious joke. That was like ha ha. But even then, from that point on, we never hear anything else about his voice box. But then at the end of the fifth movie, I'm your friend and I would die for you.
I'm your oldest friend, Optimus. I would die for you.
Yet I'm still a teenager.
Friendship! Hey, Bumblebee, if you care about friendship so much, why the fuck? Where were you hanging out with Hot Rod then? Why isn't Hot Rod in your fucking life? What'd you do?
Where
You
the
guys
hell's
have a fucking
Shia?
falling out? Where the fuck's Shia? He dead? Did you let him die? What happened? Dude, I don't know. Like, it bothers me a lot about the Hot Rod thing because, in the movie, the original movie, he became Rodimus Prime. And it's what he was introduced in. And in the rest of the shows and stuff like that, Hot Rod's really prevalent and important since then.
Mm-hmm.
And him and Bumblebee are really two cool characters to have interact with each other because they're around the same age and they give, like, they have a camaraderie.
Yeah,
with
they're
each
a
other.
rivalry with each other, where they're friends, but they're
Yeah.
always trying to one up each other.
Yeah,
But
that would have been so good.
I'm not really for that myself because they don't establish Hot Rod ever existing until this movie. So I'm more for.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
if we had him established earlier.
Like, I'm not even going to change him establishing at all. Like, if he just stays the way it is now, I would have just preferred Bumblebee be more of an authoritative figure, where he's actually in charge of the Autobots around him, and they actually listen to him, even if it's hesitant, and they're like, all right, B, I'll do what you ask. Like...
Yeah, or there needs to be something like that. There needs to be a established leader when Optimus left, because we don't have that. We don't have any direction for him. The closest to a leader they have is fucking Mark Wahlberg, and he's not an Autobot.
Yeah, they
Also, the Dinobots show up in the beginning of this movie and never show up again. Why?
They wanted to introduce cute baby dinos.
Yes, but like when they get into the ship and they go and they take the girl with, why didn't they go, "Hey,
Grimlock.
Dinobots, get in"?
I like how they only named Grimlock too. Like they have 5 or 6 different Dinobots, but they've only
I
named
can't
Grimlock
even
in the
remember all their
movie.
names.
Yeah.
One I think is Tri something because he's the Triceratops.
Is it Trilock?
I can't remember honestly because
I mean-
this is the one I used to have. I had the
Yeah.
Triceratops one.
But also, off of that, the dinosaurs don't speak. At least not as far
No.
as we can tell. So how did they know his name is Grimlock?
Well, in the like what would be like regular canon for the shows, they talk like caveman, which you would envision caveman speak, like
Yeah.
broken caveman English is the way that you would put it. Like it's just like ug knock blar blarg donut, like something like that.
I gotcha.
But they don't establish that, so how do we know? Like we don't like it would be so much cooler because also like we had a giant Minotaur-looking Decepticon show up. You know how cool that would have been to see Grimlock transform and fight that thing? Because they were about the same size.
That would have been really cool. But instead, we got to see Optimus fight him while he was giant, and then instantly kill him when he was 7 small people. So, which that was just gratuitous. Like, what the fuck moment there. Like, Optimus, where are you? Optimus, what's going on? Optimus, we're about to die. I'm here, and I've killed all of the threats.
With a dragon.
Yeah.
Or, you know what would be cool? What if the dragon transforms with Grimlock and makes Grimlock fly? There are so many cool possibilities, and you just kick out the Dinobots?
But they wanted to introduce the Dragon Bot.
So what? They can interact with each other. They all breathe fire. You know how fucking cool that would have been to see Grimlock with a dragon on his back and 3 heads and have a super fire blasted? That would have been epic. I would have forgiven some of this movie. I'm not gonna lie. That would have scored this at least an extra point for just movies got a movie for an epic moment. I would be like, all right, cool. I'm cool with that.
You don't
because that's an
two
awesome
planets
shot.
colliding is awesome?
No, because we just see it from orbit. And even like we established that the space station's gonna get hit,
But we don't see it.
It gets
Like-
covered up.
Yeah, it's like Godspeed Space Station, and then it's like Cybertron goes in front of the space station. Like, oh, that's it.
As if they want to leave it ambiguous enough that the space station maybe lived.
I just want to know what happened. Like, my big question is, how is Earth not dead? Like,
oh, dude, it's gonna be so fucked up after that.
Yeah, like, I don't care that literally Cybertron scraped across half of the continent, like half of the entire world, and then separated, apparently. I care that there's...
Well, it's still established.
Well,
it's
still attached.
connected.
Even if it's not attached. There's the fact that there's a giant thing that's right next to us. Everyone on Earth would be dead.
The gravitational mess that causes. The mess to our orbit that would cause.
So...
is insane.
But then, yeah, then we run into the problem, like, we will never get to see Unicron actually transform, like you said. So, what I think, if they were to continue the story, which they're not, at least as far as we know they're not.
I think they're making a 6th.
Okay. But as far as we know at the moment, they haven't really confirmed it yet.
No.
So, we just end with knowing that the world is Unicron, and Unicron is waking up, and Contessa is still alive somewhere.
And Cybertron and Unicron are enemies.
Yes. But
Cybertron was also created by Contessa and the creators.
And Unicron always was there fighting Cybertron for some reason.
And then left?
Yeah, to go dormant. Like, I think if I remember right from the cartoons when we were younger, Unicron essentially went dormant because of their battles. And
yes.
That's when life and stuff started to flourish on Earth. But then something with the Autobots happens where, like, Energon or something goes into a volcano, and then it awakens Unicron, and he starts pumping out dark Energon from the world. And then Megatron becomes Galvatron, and then all of this...
If I remember the one, yeah, and like Hot Rod's got the cool look, like he was very orange look in that series.
I don't remember, like, cosmetics, honestly. I just remember random plot points.
No, I remember what you're talking about, because it was a huge thing, because they also released the giant purple, cool-ass Unicron toy. And I remember seeing it at Walmart being like, man, if only money wasn't an issue.
No, yeah. Like, when I was younger, because I know we're talking about toys and stuff now, there were many a times when I would buy Transformers because they were really cool toys. And my mom would be upset because she'd be like, you have $60 from family and friends. What do you want to do with it? I want to get this one action figure that costs $60. She's like, just this one thing? You don't want like 6 or 7 things that you won't get bored of in a week? I want this one thing for $60.
Well, the thing with the Transformers is you don't get bored of them. Because if you have multiple of them, you can set up your own version of the show.
But I didn't. I only had the one Transformer.
Oof. Yeah, that's rough. That'll do it to you. I had a Hot Rod. I had the Triceratops. Kyler had Sideswipe and Bumblebee. I really wish I had more because God, those things are so cool. I wanted Decepticons, but my dad didn't. The family always got me Autobots, and I'm like, I know they're the good guys, but like, can I get some bad guys? I don't want to make them fight each other.
That's not canon, Dad.
Well, shut up. Fuck you. Probably would have said something like that.
I know.
I don't know, man. Like, God, like the fact that we will never like if Unicron transforms, humans die.
Yes. 100%.
That's
But at the same time, I feel like Unicron has to transform, or else
right.
there's no point to this movie.
Right. Or there's no point of making Earth Unicron.
Yeah. So
this movie sets up a no-win scenario.
Mm-hmm. Like this after the third movie, when Shia LaBeouf was like, "I'm not coming back," and they switched to Mark Wahlberg, they really stopped caring. They're like, "We're gonna set these up, and then we're gonna ignore it. Then we're gonna do this completely different movie, like a completely different formula, and we're not gonna care."
Yeah. No, this movie it hurts. It sucks. I hate that it does. There's no care for the, like, established stuff. Like, the fact that the army goes to Megatron to hunt down the Autobots. That they have Linux, someone who has fought alongside Optimus fucking Prime, and knows Megatron is going to dupe them.
Mm-hmm.
Says it. And the general knows, because they've been duped by Megatron before. Goes, we'll team up with him and give him what he wants to trade for these things so they can hunt them down.
And then
they give him yeah, they give him Mohawk, Nitro Zeus, Barricade is alive still apparently. And
And then Blackout shows up for some reason.
Yeah, he just showed up randomly again.
Yeah, he wasn't in any of the movies since the first movie, I don't think.
No, he shows up and gets his head ripped in half in the second movie.
That's right. But then he exists.
Well, this is Blacksout's brother.
But they literally do the exact same establishing shots as Blackout from the first movie to punish and enslave. Like,
no, that's not Blackout. That's Barricade.
Sorry,
the
Barricade.
Cop.
Either
Barricade.
way.
No, he hasn't shown up since the third movie. He gets shot in the eye in the third movie, and then we never see him again.
Sorry, but still, same thing applies to Blackout.
Yeah.
Where we don't see him, and then he's there again. So
when they go to the establishing shots of all the evil freaking things out there, and then also, why the fuck is there that? Why create a character that looks identical to Shockwave? That weird, the one with the head, he's talking to the, he's like, as he's leaving kind of thing. That Decepticon who gets killed and gets his head cut off and all that. And I'm like, dude, that is, you just reskinned Shockwave, the guy riding the worms from the third movie. That's all you did. As he shows up, he's got the Cyclops eye and the horns that Shockwave had in the third movie. I'm like, what? We saw Shockwave die. We know, they established that he's a different character, but he is so eerily similar.
they just like I said, they stopped caring. They
stopped
did with
caring.
Volleybot. He's literally another Autobot from 3 movies back, but they didn't even care to give him a name.
No,
So
they killed Ratchet in the last one.
that's true. They killed Ratchet.
Dude, when I saw that movie, that's the reason why I never saw the fifth one. Because
I was about to say, as
knew
soon
they
as I
didn't
saw
care.
them killing Ratchet, I was like, yep, Dev's gonna go on a rant.
Hey, listen, I am. Because Ratchet's one of my favorites too, from the series, and it pisses me off that they just off him like that. Because
I mean, it's 100%
it's unceremonious.
It's 100%
I know.
intentional. So
I know.
it's to show you that something's not right with these Oops, wrong button. Something's not right with these humans. So, I'm not angry that they kill Ratchet this way. I'm just I wish they did more with it. Honestly, I wish they made him plead for more of his life as they're really drawing and quartering him. That's what I would have loved to have seen.
Well, even or maybe they hold him hostage or something like that. Make it more he just gets killed off in like 2 minutes. You know?
I mean,
And
even
it's
in
just
in the establishment of these movies, it makes sense to me. He's not a major character in these movies.
and that's one of my problems with this franchise is that like until this movie, the Autobots don't really have noticeable personalities until the fourth movie.
And then we get the worst of the worst with Hound and Drift and Crosshair.
Yeah.
Like, who's ever heard of these fucking characters? No one, basically.
They're not very. They are late game Autobots.
They like chose the bottom of the barrel. They're like, oh, let's see, we don't need Bumblebee, we don't need Ratchet, we don't need Jazz.
Because they've killed everyone else.
Yeah.
They killed Jetfire. Something has happened to Sideswipe. What is it? We know Sideswipe. Why not bring Sideswipe back? I don't. Because they kill off Leadfoot, the Target 41 NASCAR car.
Oh, yeah.
In the videos. They kill off 2 Autobots. Where are the rest of them? Oh, apparently 48's still alive. Volleybot is still alive down in Cuba. Wheels has survived somehow, but Brain didn't, lost a leg during the fucking crash and was captured. But somehow Wheels has survived this, and then Brains is missing in the 5th film. That doesn't make sense to me at all, and I don't, I don't really care for either of those characters, okay? They're just kind of there as brief comic relief for every movie they're in. Why bring Wheels back?
I was about to say, here's some other people we can get. We can get Wheeljack. We can get Prowl. We
haven't
Cliff
seen
Jumper.
Wheeljack.
Wheeljack.
Okay, Wheeljack is known for. Wheeljack is the one with the crane one, right?
I believe so. Let me double check. He looks like a jet. Oh, yeah, he has a crane on some of these versions. He has like a missile coming off of one shoulder. He's like a French race car.
And a jet. Okay, he's not who I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of... Who am I thinking of?
Is it Cliff Jumper?
Yes! Cliff Jumper. Thank you.
Let's see. Cliff
Jumper, funny enough, he's known for dying in different adaptations.
Cliff
to the point that there's videos that says, does Cliff Jumper always die all the time? There's a video about it. It's terrible, grammatic there, but
I'm trying
why
to
not?
find a crane. I don't see anything that looks like a crane. I see Porsche.
I can't.
Lamborghini,
Oh, there's Rodimus Prime though. That would have been cool. I'm gonna still harp on that.
Springer, Ultra Magnus, Blur, RC. I like RC.
We never get Ultra Magnus, do we?
We don't. I don't think. No, we don't get Ultra Magnus.
Ultra Magnus is dope. He's the one who. Oh.
There's a bunch of people we don't get, and then
Ultra Magnus is the Prime that, I get. He's not technically a Prime, but he's a Prime. I don't know. It's complicated, but he was the guy who led Optimus.
Let's see. Then there's other Optimus. We got Hound, but then we could have had Mirage. We could have had Trailbreaker, Sunstreaker, Blue Streak, Trax, Grapple, Red Alert, Smokescreen, Hoist, Inferno.
Oh, is it Grimlock that I'm thinking of?
Grimlock's the dinosaur.
No, villain. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. This toy has them colored, so I was like, "What? That's different." And not really showing its dinosaur stuff.
Scourge.
I don't know. There's so many
Thundercracker. Decepticons. There's so many characters that we didn't get. Ooh, Bombshell.
Yeah, it bothers me because it shows a lack of care for the franchise that you are adapting. It's just
Whoa. There's a type of transformer called the Coneheads.
Yes.
They're all jets.
Yep.
Makes sense.
There's also ones that are fish people. Can't remember their name, but they exist.
There's Stunticons, which look like motorcycles. There's Combinationcons. God,
Yeah, combination ones.
Yeah, that's such a bad name. Then there's the Heralds of Unicron.
There's so many cool goddamn Transformers we could have had. You know how cool it would have been if Ultra Magnus showed up in the fourth movie?
Ooh, Predacons. Like, we've missed out on a lot of opportunities. It's just as simple as that, my dude.
It really is. Is the simple way to put it, and it is upsetting that this is the last in the timeline wise of this franchise. Because man, is it not great?
Ooh, getting hot. Can you hear the fan I just turned on?
No.
Sweet. I'm melting. All right, so I don't know if there's anything else I really want to spoil with these movies, if I'm being honest. Like,
There's nothing else that I really feel like ranting about. This is, honestly, this is probably, for the show that, as we've watched it so far, of movies that we had to go back to watch, not in theaters, the second worst movie I've watched.
okay.
Death Note is still worse.
Mhm.
But I don't know if it's worse than when we went to see like Curse of La Llorona or the Exorcism of Elizabeth, whatever. I always forget the name of that one, but
Sorry.
I'm not happy with this movie in any way.
Sorry, I'm making faces here because literally posted today Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy trailer. Siege ends the war between Autobots and Decepticons.
Yeah, it's the Netflix series stuff. They're closing out that series that they're doing, and it's a good series from what I've heard. I haven't had a chance to check it out. But it's like it's more true to like the old cartoon in design and stuff like that. And like the thing is like this movie established the villains looking unique and the heroes looking unique until the end, because all the unique villains get killed off early. And at the end of the movie, all the heroes end up with a bunch of knights who all look the same and are all nameless.
I mean, I like you're not wrong. I've got nothing else to add to that.
No,
sadly.
that's fair. I just realized that, so I had to blurt it out real quick. I'm glad we're done with these and are totally going to move on to bigger and better movies that totally won't. Oh, wait, we're doing Maze Runner and Artemis Fowl next week? Shit.
Hey, go. I wasn't on the news segment yet. Hey.
Oh, my bad.
Hey, we're on the news now. There we go. So next week's movies are. So
Yeah, we're doing freaking Maze Runner and Artemis Fowl. Man, we are... This is torture now, I realize. This is my mistake, and I'm sorry. I'm owning it.
Here we could have chose to watch Hamilton. I'm just kidding.
I don't know if we're allowed to critique that one.
We
At least
can't.
me.
I
I think I'm too casual to critique a musical.
like things that I would critique. I could still critique like the one difference between actually going to see Hamilton on stage and watching it through this movie show is the fact that we actually have random moments of cinematography. Like one of my favorite moments in Hamilton film, the Hamilton movie, is when right at the very beginning of the film, when we get introduced to Alexander Hamilton and he's center stage. Yeah, like it's my name is Alexander Hamilton. Like he's quiet, he's whispering, and the lighting is really interesting. And normally, if you're seeing that on stage, all you get to see is the stage and one person walking on stage and singing. But through the movie, you get this really awesome dramatic close-up that like swings from underneath him and then almost becomes head level, and it's like that's something you would never get to see in a normal play, but here, because it's half movie, half play, we get this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's someone's car going off in the background. Right as I open the window. So yeah, next week, Maze Runner and Artemis Fowl. I'm really excited for Artemis
Our
Fowl.
book adaptation.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see just how terrible they can do with the movie.
Dude,
Or,
right?
specifically, I'm excited to see how I'm gonna like it, even though it doesn't fit canon of the books.
Oh, this one, I'm going in, throwing because from what I've heard, it destroys everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to survive this, I either need to drink or legitimately leave my love for the first book. 'Cause that's the only one I got through, first and or second book. I can't remember exactly. I was a kid. Anyways, leave that at the door completely because I'm gonna get pissed off too much. I'm still not gonna be able to do that. But arguably, I think this is just gonna be a bad film from what I've heard. It is just arguably not a good movie. So,
Okay.
it's gonna be fun. It was in development hell too for a long time. I'm interested to see Maze Runner because I've never seen any of that franchise.
Neither have I. But I'm interested in it because I thought the premise was interesting, where it's like, you know, you get assigned your positions or whatnot. But
That's Divergent.
sorry, I still either way. All these teen novels, they always have an interesting premise, but as soon as you adapt them, something goes wrong. So we'll see what happens with that one.
What do you mean? Twilight was fantastic.
And so was the Hunger Games, which we still haven't finished.
Don't bring it up.
You're welcome. I didn't choose it this week. We could have done it this week instead of.
Yeah,
Spell,
I know.
But
I brought about it was open to happen later this month too. They
So-
could have. It's just adaptation month, so
yeah, those are next week's movies. As for like random movie news, there's a couple of things we could talk about. For instance, did you know in the UK, they've introduced a travel ban on the U.S. citizens, where if anybody who's coming from U.S. to the UK, they have to do a mandatory 2-week quarantine period before they do anything else. Which one?
most of the EU is also doing that.
Yeah, against us. So both against us and against us. You know, United States.
Yeah.
It's a pun. But the UK specifically has decided that some people are exempt from that rule. Say, for instance, major Hollywood actors who have to shoot movies. So, in the UK, if you're a movie star, you don't have to worry about quarantine. So, good for you, movie stars, getting higher privileges than everyone else and getting everybody sick.
Oh, it's because they have easy access to the tests in the U.S. So, because they can just go, hey, I need a test real quick and get tested, like every other citizen can. Oh, wait.
So there's that. That's one sad news. There is a death. There's tons of deaths, but this one I only want to talk about because of the age. Earl Cameron, he was a pioneering British actor, person of color specifically too, who started his acting back in the 1950s, and has gone up to movies all the way to like Inception. He recently passed away at the age of 102. Which, if you really want to look into it, we could talk about all of the people who have died from this, like for instance, the Broadway musician or actor who died at 41 from coronavirus yesterday.
There's a lot of people.
Yeah,
and it's just the list is getting longer and longer because guess what? It's not being handled here well, so that's how it goes.
So other things, Lord of the Rings and Cowboy Bebop live action shows are now being allowed to film in New Zealand. So coming up within the next couple of weeks, they'll start filming there. Halle Berry has been pulled out of a movie role because she was going to play a transgender person in a movie, and the people were like, no, get an actual transgender actor in there. So Halle Berry has been pulled out, and they're going to hire someone else for this movie role.
I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Oh, sorry, my eye.
Let's see. There's the Transformers thing that I was talking about. There's a TV show leaving Cartoon Network called Infinity Train that's going to be continuing on HBO Max. I hear it's a good show, but I've heard nothing about it other than the fact that it's a good show. So
yeah, I've noticed HBO Max is actually trying to crank out some stuff for it or get stuff over to it.
I agree and I don't at the same time. Like like they're trying to grab things, but they're not really grabbing anything that will get people with money. Like they're not getting anybody our age, I don't think. Like I feel like that would be the target demographic right now. Where
Millennials?
Yeah, where we're old enough to be living alone, and irresponsible enough to spend money on anything, but still young enough and old enough to have enough money to afford these random subscription fees. But they're picking
Yes.
kids' cartoons and then random old sitcoms, as well as other movies, of course. But I haven't seen anything specific on HBO Max that's like, ooh, I would watch that, other than just the normal HBO shows.
Yeah, that's kind of it for me. I mean, again, we are gonna get it for when we do our freaking when we finally get to finish off the Snyder cut.
Yeah, when we finally get to end this whole DC debacle.
Is it better? I'm just more curious at this point. I have a friend though who's like, it's gotta be better than Endgame. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh.
It's gotta be 4+ hours, buddy,
Mhm.
and it's gonna cost Warner Brothers another $30 million. Better than Endgame, eh? Ooh, we'll see how that goes.
There's an article here. Disney has signed a contract deal with Colin Kaepernick and is planning to make a documentary series about his life.
Yeah, I saw that. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that's cool, but also at the same time, I wish it was someone other than Disney.
Right? Out of everyone, it had to be Disney.
Mm-hmm.
I would have preferred anyone besides Disney or Warner Brothers.
Yeah, like I'm all for it because Colin Kaepernick has literally had his life thrown in the drain, all because one day he decided to kneel, and it's kind of shitty, especially now that we get to see everything that's been happening.
Yep.
But at least he gets some justice in having a movie made after him. So, but it's not really going to change anything. It's like one of those hollow changes, like changing the Aunt Jemima syrup or painting a mural on the street. It's very surface level.
Yep. Which even the fact that people get pissed off at the murals on the street and start painting over them, I'm
I
just like,
saw that
I'm
too.
blown away.
Yeah. I feel like that specifically in that example, like I feel like she made it worse almost. Like it's just gonna stick out even more so than it was before. So smart for her, I guess. I don't know. Let's see.
Wow, that was a long show so far.
We've hit a long show. We
I
talked
didn't
a
realize
lot about the movies.
I didn't realize we had talked that long. I thought it was still before 8 o'clock.
No.
Wow.
I think we hit news around 8:10.
Shit, really? Wow, I didn't realize we had talked that long about Transformers. That movie pissed me off.
It was actually mainly Transformers 4, honestly. We spent an hour on that movie, almost.
Wow.
Yeah, I was watching the times as we were going. I was like, damn. All right.
We had a lot to talk about without spoilers on that movie? Wow. 'Cause hey, this week we did really good about spoilers, I feel like. Really wasn't much to spoil.
Yeah.
Or that we revealed in the pre-spoiler range. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm looking forward to next week to rant about another movie that I'm probably gonna hate.
Oh, by the way, one last movie news.
Yes.
Peacock, NBC's streaming
Yes.
platform is starting to come out. I think they start next week. So there's another streaming platform if anyone's interested.
I'm just gonna stick to the ones I got. I got Verve, man. Like Verve is the one I care about most right now. Like I could lose Disney Plus until like something interesting comes on there. Again, we're watching Artemis Fowl, so I guess somewhat interesting, but we're doing it out of kind of a sick joy for bad movies occasionally.
Yeah. Like on Disney Plus recently, I'll go there right now. If I were to sit and watch something on Disney Plus, it's most likely going to be Hamilton, or it's going to at this point be one of the many documentaries that they put on here.
Yeah.
Like, actually, for instance, just the other day they put a behind the scenes of Frozen 2 documentary on here, which I might actually watch.
I need to watch more commentary, like director commentaries to movies
I
too.
really enjoy that. Like,
I still haven't done it for Lord of the Rings. I've realized.
I haven't either, actually, but that's only because there's so much in those movies as is to absorb that even watching them 4 or 5 times, there's still something that I have missed and I could learn more of. And I kind of want to deal with that organically. It's like sometimes though with the commentaries though, you get some really great stuff. Like you can hear Easter eggs from movies like Ready Player One. I didn't realize that when the Batmobile skids to a stop in the death race, it does the Batman theme. And I was like, yeah, and then it falls. Yeah, like
I don't know if the crash actually made the noise, but
I don't
that would
know.
be even better.
Yeah. And they do like, and listening to the commentary on that movie was really interesting because they're like, look at this small tiny detail. This is a Halo battle rifle, and over here, even though there's this squad of Spartans running at each other, that's actually a weapon from Gears of War. And it's like, yeah,
No, yeah, like that's. I need to start doing it more because I already love films a lot, so it might help me out more too. To enjoy them even more.
oh, what's this?
Oh.
Pixar in real life. So apparently they have Pixar characters, or yeah. Live action series bringing iconic characters and moments from Pixar films into the real world. So they bring like Wall-E or Finding Dory. Oh, okay. They take gimmicks from the Pixar movies and put them out in real life. They're really short moments. So they'll have like the cones from the original Toy Story movie going across the street. Or
Okay.
yeah, I see. Cute. All right. I've got nothing else, honestly.
I've got nothing else either. This was a long show that I didn't expect it to be this long. Like I looked at the time and I'm like, I'm just dumbfounded by it. I'm like, it's supposed to say 30? Where did the time go? What happened?
You didn't want to stream tonight, did you?
Not now. I didn't plan on it anyways. I'm not feeling great either, so I'm going to claim tomorrow. So it's all fun. Yay.
Okay. I guess we're done here.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. You're great. You're awesome. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, rings, dings.
Stuff down below.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Be good to each other.
Bye, nerds. I don't know. I got nothing else to say.
That's fair.